Project portfolio management is challenging, and one of the challenges is consolidation. How do you get data from all the different projects and try to make sense of your portfolio? Now, if that is of interest to you, I want to show you something that I've developed recently. My name is Dr. Khalid Khan. I've been in project management for over 25 years. And based on my experience, I've developed a tool which I think would can be of interest to a lot of portfolio managers. So here we are with a typical spreadsheet which has a list of projects. So I have something like 70 plus projects in this portfolio. And each project I have a name, organization, the manager, the budget for that project, the start end date, and the actual cost. And typically that is the minimum amount of information that is required, and that information usually is available. People know how much money they've spent. Now, what we're going to do with this is to import this data into this is the application that I have, and I will log into this application. So it uses a Google authorization system. So I've logged in, and it has different modules. So there's file management for loading data. There's the ability to manually enter data. Then different tools for project analysis, for portfolio analysis, and then finally some simulators. So let's start with file management. And what I'll do is I'll load the data that I have available over here. So there are two options. There's JSON and CSV. In this case, I have a JSON file which is already available. So it's loaded the data, and along with the data, it's also loaded some settings. So here you have global settings, which means that when we are estimating the planned value, we will use the S-curve, and these are the parameters for the S-curve, the alpha and beta parameter. The currency in this case is PKR, postfix is millions, this is the date format, and this is the data date. So you have to provide a data date. And I put in an inflation rate. The inflation rate is going to be used to calculate the value of work that's been completed by deflating it based on the inflation. Now below that you have the budget tiers, which means I can use this as a classification. So in this case, I have created three cutoffs. The first one is 4 billion, the second cutoff is 6 billion, and the third one is at 8 billion. And each cutoff I've given a name. So small project, medium, large, and mega project. Similarly, I have a duration tier. I want to look at projects which are 12 months, 24 months, and 36 months, and I've given them names also. So once that is done, I'll run the calculation. So when I do the batch calculation, it will basically use the approximation techniques for planned value and for value and complete the whole set of calculations. I also have the ability to put in an API key for my LLM provider. And if I provide an API key, then I can do some queries based on that. So once the data is loaded, you can either come to manual data and inspect the data, and you can change it or add anything to the data if you want. But we'll just go to quickly look at project analysis. As soon as I'm in project analysis, I can see the first project that's already selected. It's showing me the SPI, CPI, and TCPI for this project. This is the basic information of the project. It's the construction of an overpass. This is the organization, project manager, and the budget cost, actual cost, planned value, earned value, and these are estimated. So planned and earned are estimated. Then the present value of planned value, this is the deflated value based on inflation, and then percentage value of the project based on that, and the likely value of the project. And so I take the whole project and then use the inflation rate to deflate the value to get this. These are performance indicators. 76% of the budget has been used, and 53% progress has been made. Okay, and 84% time has been used. Now you can just select any project and just update that. There's a results tab that gives you more details and also has traffic lighting all over it, so you can get that also. It also does a prediction of when this project is likely to be completed using SPIE. So this is telling you that it's going to take 161 months, and you can download this information into a CSV file. Then there is this tab for executive brief. I could directly get this information sent to LLM, which would then produce a report and return it to me. If I don't have a key and I want to use a free service, then I just need to put in get prompt, and it will basically generate a prompt. So this is the prompt it's generated, and I can just put this prompt into any LLM to get a report. And then you have the charts, which give you some idea of where the project is. And in this case, we can see that the project is fairly delayed. This is a backloaded curve and a forward-loaded curve. If the project is in this envelope, that means the project is doing well. If it's outside, then it has a problem. This is the data date, so it's unlikely that this project will make it completion within the available time now. This shows you the S curves for it. So this is the planned curve, and based on the S curve parameters we provided, this is the actual curve, and this is the current value. Okay, let's look at another one, and then just so you can see, like in this case, this project is within the envelope, so it might actually still be okay. But here we can see that it does have this is SPI versus CPI, and then 1 would be right here. Anything in the green quadrant would be great. In this quadrant, the project right now appears to be slightly over budget and behind schedule. Okay. So let's move to the next one, which is a portfolio analysis. Now, this portfolio analysis will give you a consolidated idea. So the portfolio CPI is based on the aggregate, which is a weighted CPI using the budget value. Similarly, the TCPI, SPI, and SPIE are all budget weighted. So they're not simple averages, they're weighted on the budget. These gives you basically some more visualization of how the project is doing. This basically is telling you that most of your projects in this portfolio are critical. How much budget we've used, what is the budget or total budget, what is the actual cost, what is the likely budget. So we know it's going to be beyond 868 billion, while we have a budget of 700 billion, so we're going to be exceeding budget, and planned value is more than earned. Most of the portfolio is behind schedule. This is showing a breakup in terms of budget. So you have 35% of the projects are in the mega project group, which are 25, but they account for 67% of the spending. So helps you look at where you need to focus. We can look at duration tiers, and we can see that 41 projects are over 3 years. So that's in that they account for 67% of the budget. Okay, so that could be a matter of concern. You can set filters for the analysis. These are projects that need immediate attention, so these are critical. But you can then select top 10 projects in terms of budget, top 10 earliest projects that are still in the system. So there are a whole bunch of lists that you can basically go to highest estimate to complete. All of that stuff is there. Then you have advanced. You can look at the different organizations, how many projects they have, and what is their aggregate CPI, SPI, SPIE, and actual cost and plan values. You can also look at this in terms of budget years. And here you can see that 480 billion is the amount of money that's in the mega projects at this time. Okay. So that's counts a major chunk here. Then you have a cross tab, and this can be very useful because this is basically a cross tab between project duration and size. And you can see that most of the mega projects, 15 of these projects, could take more than 3 years to complete. So there are different things you can select over here. For instance, I can say estimate to complete. How much money do you need for different things? So here we can see that we need just 1.6 billion or one over here to complete the small projects immediate term. So that might be something of interest to a portfolio manager, because these will then start delivering benefits. Financial summaries, durations. Basically, the average delay in this portfolio is 19 months. Weighted delay is 23 months. And just similar to the project analysis tab, where you can have LLM analyze this data, you can actually do the same thing here. Ask for a prompt. This prompt will send all the information for these projects out. You can copy this, paste this into any LLM and get executive report or ask more questions. Let's move next to portfolio charts. So again, there's filter, and then portfolio Gantt chart shows you these are all the projects that we have, and these tooltips can show you which projects we're looking at. The predicted toggle shows what is the likely duration of these projects based on the progress that's been made so far. So you can see in this, there are a lot of projects that will be overrunning their durations. The cash flow shows what is the plan that we have based on our original budget and the start and end dates that we specified. That's the quarters. The predicted is showing based on the performance so far, and this is the actual money that we spent. You can compare all three, so you can see this is what the plan was, but this is 52 billion per quarter, but most likely the best we can do is 38 billion. So instead of all the projects finishing by 2028, we're predicting that they will go all the way. Some of the projects might go to 2032. Okay, then you can get this data as a table form. Then there's time and budget performance. Again, it's the same envelope, which is basically time used goes from 0 to 1 and budget from 0 to 1. And you can see this. You have mega projects in red. You can look at all the ones that are not doing well would be on this side. You can also look at timing based, and you can see most of the projects which over 3 years long. A lot of these projects have problems. This is another graph which basically is a SPI versus CPI. And again, one should be, this would be the ideal place to be in, ideal quadrant, but we have a lot of projects. We have some projects which are ahead of schedule, but they're still over budget. Then there's a tree map. In the tree map, we can see what is the amount of budget within this portfolio. So most of it is in transport and urban development. If I go to projects, now you're actually seeing budget tiers. So you can see these are all the mega projects. So a lot of money in these. For instance, in this department, agriculture, most of the projects are mega projects. You can also look at the same information in terms of tiers to see the mix of long-term projects and short projects. Same over here, but here you've got in agriculture mostly long projects. Then there's organization budget chart, which shows the amount of money for each organization. So it's another way of looking at it. But what is interesting here is you can actually look at this by tiers. So I can see within transport, mega projects account for most of the project. Agriculture we already saw. So it's the same, another method for visualizing the same information. Then there's approvals. When were these projects approved? And I can look at quarters and then also look at what type of projects were approved. So we see a lot of mega projects being quarterly year format. You see a lot of mega projects being approved. In terms of duration, you can see in recent times, so a lot of these projects are long duration projects. Then you have a heat map. Again, it's a cross tab, but with the colors. So, and you can choose different things over here in the heat map. So here, use a 4x4 standard grid, or you can also customize the grid to have a more granular view of the projects. So you can have a heat map of SPIs. So that's there. Then you have a histogram which shows you, this is a histogram of project durations. So, can give you an idea of durations or actual durations. What do they look like? The project budgets. You can see there are few projects which are large, but they're very large. So this is 96 billion, and a lot of projects which are smaller. So all of these projects, 23 projects here, are less in value than this one single project over here. And that would be a little cause of concern for a portfolio manager in terms of organizing their projects. There's another interesting graph that we have, which is comparative graph. So here we're comparing budget at completion with estimate at completion. So this is estimated completion. It's higher than the original budget. We can see that. And this is a scatter graph of the same thing. And this shows you all the projects that are over budget and all the ones that are under budget will be below the line. And so you can actually do this with different things. So for instance, actual versus likely duration. So the blue one is actual duration, and the red ones are likely. You can see that most of the projects appear to be delayed. So that's basically the portfolio functionality. There are additional stuff, which is there's a cash flow simulator and there's the M simulator. These are independent tools that can be used. So this tool is going to be available for beta testing. I will put a beta testing link underneath this video. Anyone who wants to beta test can come and click and log in. Once you log in, I'll actually be able to then get information on the user management panel that I have, and then based on that, I can give the relevant access to the rest of the application. Okay. Thank you.